Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Madison. My name is Ros Woodward. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a member of this congregation, and one of the ways that I volunteer here is as worship associate, helping to lead the services along with our ministers. Today, I'm joined by Reverend Kelly Crocker and the worship team of Linda Warren, Drew Collins, Stephen Gregorius, and Dan Carnes. And thank you to our guest musician, Philip Delaquess. A reminder that next Sunday we only have one service at 10 a.m. For the after Thanksgiving service. And now I invite you to join me in a moment of silence to center ourselves and bring ourselves fully into this time as we join together once again in community. To all who are yearning for community, welcome and come in.
To all who are just getting to know this place, to all who long to build deeper connections, to all who are here with tender places needing care, welcome and come in.
To the ones who have healed and have care to give, for those who are curious and hungry to learn, for those who know that they have something to teach, welcome and come in.
For the ones who are just beginning to suspect they might nurture others' becoming, to the young and the old, the innocent and the jaded, the fresh of mind and the deeply steeped, there is room for each and everyone here. Welcome and come in. And we invite you now to rise in all the ways we do, joining in our words of affirmation as we light our chalice. Out of the flames of fear, we rise with courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, we rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames we rise. And we invite you now to take a moment to turn and greet those around you.
Good morning. Let's sing together our opening hymn, We Gather Together.
Today is called The Christmas Doll. And now I know it's a little early to be talking about Christmas. But the story comes from one of my favorite shows, The Repair Shop. That's the shop, and the many people who work there, And this is the story of one of the items that came to them for repair. Today was the day, the special day that Evie and her great-grandma Sue had been waiting for. Evie slipped her hand into Grandma Sue's as they walked through the snow toward the repair shop. "I can't wait for them to meet Lizzie," she said. "Neither can I," said Grandma Sue with a smile as they stepped inside the barn. "Hello, I'm Jay," said the man behind the table. "I'm Susan," said Grandma Sue, "and this is my great-granddaughter, Evie. And what have you got for us today?" "We've brought you Lizzie," said Evie. Grandma Sue reached inside her bag and lifted out a doll. She was beautiful, but her nose was chipped and her head was cracked and her stitching was coming apart. "This," said Jay, "is a very lovely doll. Can you tell me more about her?" Grandma Sue smiled. "I would love to." It was snowing that day, too, so many years ago. She closed her eyes as she remembered. It was 1939, and England was at war. In London, the chilly winter wind whipped around me as I stood on the train station platform. "You will be safe in the country," Mother said. "I will miss you terribly, but I can't let you stay here." "I don't want to go," I whispered. I hugged her tight and tried to breathe in her scent. "Remember, I love you," she said. "Hurry now, and I will see you soon. It won't be long before you're home." But I knew it would feel like forever. The train whistle blew, and I clambered aboard. I clung to my little bag of things, a change of clothes and a toothbrush. It was all I had now. There were many children squeezed into the train car, but I never felt so alone. The train pulled out of the station away from my mother and home. The train huffed and puffed through the countryside, past trees and hills, forests and villages, until it finally came to a halt. My heart thumped as I was taken to meet my new family. What if they don't like me? What if they don't want me? I really wish I could go home. "Hello," said a man with a kind face. "We're Mr. and Mrs. Russell." They smiled at me, but I couldn't meet their gaze. My heart was broken, and I knew I would never smile again. "We're so pleased to have you here," said Mr. Russell. "Let me show you to your room," said Mrs. Russell. I was heavy-hearted as we trudged up the stairs, but when they opened the door, I saw the most beautiful room, and it was all for me. For the first time in a long time, I smiled. As the days rolled by, I began to feel a little more at home with the Russells. Autumn turned to winter, and then it was Christmas Eve. Mrs. Russell tucked me into bed. I felt so safe and cozy that the worries in my heart, they just melted away. I drifted happily off to sleep. And then it was Christmas morning. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, and gasped in surprise at what I saw. At the end of my bed was a present wrapped in beautiful paper. But was it for me? I've never had a present before. I didn't know what to do. Finally, I couldn't resist, so with trembling fingers, I unwrapped it, and there inside was a doll. She had brown hair like mine, dark eyes, and a frilly dress. "I will call you Lizzie," I whispered, and I cuddled her tight. That day, Lizzie went everywhere with me, all around the house and out into the yard. I showed Lizzie to everyone. But as Christmas Day came to a close and the dark settled around the house, I wondered, is Lizzie really mine to keep? She couldn't be. Slowly, I tiptoed downstairs, making that final cuddle with Lizzie last as long as I possibly could. "Thank you for letting me play with her," I said, and offered Lizzie to Mrs. Russell. "Susan," she said with a smile, "she is yours to keep, now and forever, with love from us." "Really? For me?" I asked. Then all I could do was hug Mrs. Russell as tight as I could. I ran back upstairs to my bedroom, heart pounding, grinning all the way. As Lizzie and I looked outside at the snowflakes drifting down, I thought, this is the most magical Christmas ever. The days flew past, and Lizzie and I did everything together. But things don't stay the same forever, and the day came when it was time to return to London. I should have been happy, but instead I was kind of sad to say goodbye. Thank you for everything, I said as I hugged Mr. and Mrs. Russell one last time. I will think of you every time I hug Lizzie. And every day for all these years, that is what I did. I still think of the Russells and their kindness, said Grandma Sue, holding Lizzie close. But I have cuddled and loved her so much over the years that Lizzie has become damaged. But you can help, can't you? Asked Evie. She's very special, Jay smiled. We're going to do our best. These are the teddy bear ladies, Amanda and Julie. Lizzie is going to be in their very capable hands. We can see she's very special, said Julie, and we're going to take very good care of her. The teddy bear ladies worked hard to repair Lizzie. Their quick, clever fingers stitched, painted, mended, glued until at last their work was done. A week later, Evie and her great-grandma Sue went back to the barn. Hello again, said Jay. Are you ready to see Lizzie? Grandma Sue and Evie held hands, closed their eyes, and nodded. Then here you are, said Jay as he lifted the cloth. She is perfect, cried Grandma Sue. Thank you, this means so much to me. And me, said Evie. You're very welcome, said Amanda. She's an important part of your family's history. Grandma Sue looked at Lizzie and then turned to Evie. Evie, she said, I think it's your turn to be Lizzie's guardian now. Really? Gasped Lizzie. I know you'll take very good care of her, said Grandma Sue, and she handed Evie the doll. Evie said, I really, really will. That evening, Evie looked out her bedroom window. She held Lizzie tight, just as another little girl had done so many years ago. This is the most magical Christmas ever, she whispered. And from the bedroom doorway, Grandma Sue smiled.
Let's rise and sing, Break Not the Circle. Make
For our Voices of Inspiration this morning, this is a story of Tikkun Olam as told by Rachel Naomi Raymond. In the beginning was only the holy darkness, the Ein Sof, the source of life. And then, in the course of history, at a moment in time, this world, the world of 1,000,000 things, emerged from the heart of the holy darkness as a great ray of light. And then, perhaps because it's a Jewish story, there was an accident. And the vessels containing the light of the world, the wholeness of the world, broke. And the wholeness of the world, the light of the world, was scattered into 1,000,000 fragments of light, and they fell into all events and all people, where they remain deeply hidden until this very day. Now, according to my grandfather, the whole human race is a response to this accident. We are here because we are born with the capacity to find the hidden light in all events and all people, to lift it up and make it visible once again, and thereby to restore the innate wholeness of the world. It's a very important story for our times, and this task is called Tikkun Olam in Hebrew. It's the restoration of the world. I've been thinking a lot about how aptly this story captures the work ahead of us. We're here to contribute to the reparation of the world, to the restoration of the hidden light in all things and all people. We don't have to do it all. We just have to do our part. How? By identifying our role, our capacity, our purpose, and being true to it. Yes, the world is shattered, it is broken. And yes, each of us has a part to play restoring it back to wholeness.
Let me set a rather idyllic scene for you. On a historic living museum in the south of England sits a thatched roof barn. Inside this barn, it is timber cladding on display. Expert craftspeople behind workbenches which are filled with much-loved tools and the prized possessions of ordinary Brits. This is the home of The Repair Shop, a British TV series where precious family heirlooms are brought for restoration. Now in its 13th season, each episode features 2 or 3 projects in need of repair. These are not just any objects, as we learned in the story of the Christmas doll, but these are deeply meaningful pieces of a family's history, a connection to the past, and the holders of cherished memories. Some of these items are complicated to fix, requiring expert knowledge and experience to repair with integrity. The craftspeople who work on these items do so with great care, skill, and sensitivity to not only the object, but to the story and the person who's left this beloved item in their hands. At the end of each episode, you get my favorite part, the big reveal of the repaired, priceless possession. And you get to see the response of the person who entrusted the item to their care. There are always tears, smiles, and amazement at how a treasured gift once broken or thought to be beyond repair now matches the image in their memory. In the opening credits of the show, host and upholstery repairer Jay Blade says nowadays things are not built to last. So we've become part of this throwaway culture. The repair shop is all about preserving and restoring. How many of us have said time and again, they just don't make them like they used to? Whether it's the dishwasher that has needed to be replaced for the second time in 10 years, or the shirt that you just bought that tore immediately at the seams. We all understand that our culture has favored the quick and cheap and replaceable over well-crafted goods. But it's not just electronics and clothes and stuff that we've deemed better to replace. If the election showed us anything, it's that the throwaway culture has impacted our relationships too. It is hard not to listen to the reasons why people voted the way they did and feel that the majority of voters decided to throw away the inherent worth and dignity of so many in pursuit of tax breaks, nationalism, cheap groceries. When faced with the choice to love through our differences, our fellow citizens, and sometimes our mothers, fathers, siblings, friends, chose rupture. In the days and now weeks following the election, many of us gathered here felt a deepened sense of despair, a sense of hopelessness and fear and grief. In his book, Consolations, the poet David White wrote, "Despair takes us in when we have nowhere else to go, when we feel the heart cannot break anymore, when our God disappoints, when our world disappears. Despair is the invitation we accept when we want to remove ourselves from hurt, a last protection. But despair is also a necessary and seasonal state of repair, a temporary healing absence, an internal physiological and psychological winter when our previous forms of participation in the world can take a rest. Despair is, he says, surprisingly, the last bastion of hope." I have returned to David's words again and again and have held on to them like a life raft, this idea that despair can be a seasonal state of repair. In the repair shop, there is an exchange between the owner and the craftsperson, and as always, a story of how the item between them came to be theirs and came to be broken. Sometimes the item is broken because it has been loved so well, but not with great care. Other times it's broken through accident or neglect. Whatever the cause, the conversation never centers around fault. Instead, the owner speaks of the object's meaning and their hope for restoration. In the conversation, the craftsperson listens for the story to understand how to repair and how to achieve the owner's vision. It is the story element that shapes how the craftsperson approaches the technical elements of repair. Their skills and mastery are undoubtedly critical, but if they are not listening to the meaning, they may miss an important part of what the owner needs in relationship to the repair. This was made clear in an episode where a young woman who recently lost her father brought in a writing box that he had left her. She told stories of seeing her father use this box to hold his wallet and keys every day when he came home from work. She retold the stories from his childhood, when he first found the box among his father's items, and he had taken a nail and scratched his initials on a small brass plate on the top of the box. Those scratch marks were precious to her. If the show's master carpenter hadn't been present to her story, he might have chosen to remove those initials in order to restore the box to its original pristine condition. Instead, he chose to polish the brass, making sure to leave those scratch marks intact. When the young woman returned to collect the writing box, she was astounded at how beautiful it was and delighted to see her father's initials still carved on that plate. To be a repairer, a craftsperson in the art of mending, we must first hear the story. And not simply the story of how something or someone came to be broken, but also the story that came before. We must listen for the meaning and what is hoped for now, even if it feels insignificant to us. Any attempt at repair without first hearing the story can create more damage. Repair requires us to look closely, to look beyond a passing glance, to approach someone familiar with new eyes, as if seeing them for the first time. If we approach as though we are the expert on this person or the relationship we share, we can miss what repair work can teach us about one another and ourselves. Psychologists tell us that repairing a rupture in a relationship is one of the most growth-promoting and healing aspects of the therapeutic process. To repair rather than discard is an act of courage, respect, generosity, forgiveness, the virtues fundamental to well-being. The art of repair is the antithesis to our throwaway culture. The relationship experts, Julie and John Gottman, have spent decades looking at repair in the context of intimate relationships. And they have found that the couples that they call the emotionally connected couples, well, they don't make less ruptures in their relationship than anybody else, but what they do is make ongoing vital repairs. These couples are willing to admit responsibility for their part in the conflict so they can begin the process of healing their bond, realizing the relationship is more important than the problem at hand. They've examined more than 3,000 couples. And one thing they discovered is that the elegance of the repair attempt, how fancy or grandiose it may be, the elegance of the repair didn't matter if both partners were open to it happening. In one study, they observed a chemist and his wife talking about the nature of his work. He was saying he wasn't sure when he would be home for dinner because due to the nature of his work, he was sometimes stuck in a lab watching an experiment, and it was going to take as long as it was going to take. His wife replies that the problem is that the children are hungry. They don't want to have dinner without him. And so they become incredibly cranky, or as we might say, hangry, and she's the one who is stuck dealing with them. And he looks at her befuddled and says, well, why don't you feed him a snack? Have you ever heard such fighting words? So she gives him a look that clearly says, do you not think I know what I'm doing here? Of course I feed them a snack. He instantly realizes his mistake and the need for repair and gives this big, goofy grin. That was his repair attempt. It was nothing fancy. It didn't even involve words. It was just a big, ridiculous grin. And she starts laughing. It was effective. What the Gottmans figured out was that successful repairs relied on the groundwork that was done before the rupture. What matters is the foundation on which the relationship has been built. Partners who'd been emotionally connected leading up to that rupture were more likely to be open to attempts at repair, even if the repair is nothing more than a big silly grin that without words clearly says, oops, I was wrong. Repair doesn't simply start at the moment of rupture, but it is in all those small acts of kindness built into a relationship before it. Now, it needs to be said, we have to acknowledge that repairs in relationships are not always possible. Sometimes it's because one person is not open to repair, to taking responsibility for harm caused, and sometimes repair isn't possible because the rupture is abuse. We're not going to ask the spouse or the child on the receiving end of emotional, physical, mental abuse to repair a relationship, even if the person committing the harm has asked for forgiveness. We cannot confuse repair with reconciliation. That reconciliation may not be possible, and in some situations, asking for repair may be an act of injustice. As we heard from Rachel Naomi Remen, in Judaism, repair isn't simply between individuals. Tikkun olam is the Hebrew phrase for repairing the world, a concept that, while it has shifted over the centuries, lies at the heart of the Jewish tradition. Tikkun, repair, and olam, the world, means to do something with the world that will not only fix any damage, but will improve upon it. The word olam also means hidden. So this deeper meaning of tikkun olam is to repair the world so that its creator is no longer hidden within it, but shines through each thing and each person in magnificent, harmonious beauty. For Jews, tikkun olam is the responsibility of every person and has a sense of urgency about it because one small deed could bring the world to the resolution for which it has yearned since its creation. The way you eat and what you eat, the way you treat others, the commitments you make to family and friends, all of these are means of tikkun olam, bringing the world yet closer to its ultimate state for which it was created. As Unitarian Universalists, we're steeped in a tradition of justice. The first UU congregation I ever entered had this sign sort of hidden out of the way, off to the side in the lobby, but I've never forgotten it. It said, "We don't really care what happens when you die. We worry about how you live today." This is who we are in our bones. With love at the center of our work, we fight for justice and equity, keeping ever present our steadfast belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all, including and especially those on the margins of our society. What would it mean for us to see our work together here as acts of repair, so that the world becomes a place where the beauty of each person can shine through? And what would it mean for us to see our community here as its own repair shop? A place where everyone is welcomed in, where your story is heard, where you can look at the wounds, name the fears, feed your soul, welcome another person in and create a home, rest for maybe just a moment, dream, imagine, sing, do the healing that must happen to stay in the work for justice. The Irish poet and priest John O'Donoghue, he wrote this blessing for a new home. And every time I read it, I feel like it is a prayer for us as well. He says, "May this house shelter your life. When you come home here, may all the weight of the world fall from your shoulders. May your heart be tranquil here, blessed by a peace the world cannot give. May this be a place full of understanding and acceptance, where you can be as you are without the need of any mask, pretense, or image. May this home be a place of discovery, where the possibilities that sleep in the clay of your soul can emerge to deepen and refine your vision for all that is yet to come to birth. May it be a house of courage and repair, where healing and growth are loved, where dignity and forgiveness prevail, a home where patience of spirit is prized and the sight of the destination is never lost, though the journey be difficult and slow. May there be great delight around this hearth. May it be a house of welcome for the broken and diminished. May you have the eyes to see that no visitor arrives without a gift and that no guest leaves without a blessing. What would it mean for us to become a home of courage and repair, where everyone is seen and known to be a gift, and everyone leaves here with a blessing? In so many ways, our world has lost its care and compassion for one another, especially for those in the LGBTQ community, BIPOC folks, women, disabled people, the poor. I haven't wanted to admit the depth and the breadth of the rupture, but the world is, in fact, broken. In this moment in our history, we, Unitarian Universalists, must broaden our understanding of justice to see them as acts of repair, to see ourselves as agents of healing, not in the sense of reconciliation with those who consciously and knowingly choose harm for the sake of their own gain, but agents of repair and healing for those whose safety, identity, lives are under threat. We must repair for them a place where they are valued, loved, protected, and cherished, restored to their full humanity and celebrated. We must become a place where healing and growth are loved, dignity and forgiveness prevail, where patience of spirit is prized and the sight of the destination is never lost. May we be a house of welcome for the broken and diminished. Friends, this is the moment we face. We are called to be craftspeople in an age of repair, to open our hearts, our hands, our resources to mend the broken lives and communities around us. Listen to the stories, listen to the needs, find with them the last bastion of hope in this time of despair. There is work for us to do. Let us get to that work, repairing and loving the hell out of this world.
I invite you into this time of giving and receiving, where we give freely and generously to this offering, which supports the ongoing work of this community and the work of our outreach offering recipient. This week's recipient is Wilma's Fund, which is a program of outreach LGBTQ+ community center, offering emergency financial assistance to LGBTQ+ adults in Dane County. Wilma's Fund was founded in 2011 by Donald Haar, a former employee of the Salvation Army and drag performer who goes by the name of Wilma Flynn Stone. Donald recognized that LGBTQ+ people often face additional barriers when accessing support for homelessness or housing insecurity, and saw a way to help. There are multiple ways to share your gifts this morning. Baskets are now being passed in the auditorium for cash or checks, or you can donate directly from the website, fusmadison.org. And you'll see on the screen our new text to give information. We thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we create together.
Well, good morning. I'm Connie Beam, and I serve on the board of the First Unitarian Society Foundation. Our board thought the Sunday before Thanksgiving would be the perfect time to share with you some wonderful news and to give thanks for the life of Betty Jane Bamforth. Betty was an active member of FUS for many years. Now, through her trust, she has provided a gift of nearly $1 million to the FUS Foundation. Already this gift is providing and will forever provide annual financial support to this congregation. Betty was born in Connecticut in 1923, a groundbreaker right from the start. She earned her medical degree from Boston University in 1947 and came to Wisconsin for a residency in anesthesiology. She joined the UW School of Medicine faculty in 1954. For 38 years, she served as a physician, teacher, and mentor, achieving many firsts. Betty was the first female director of the Department of Anesthesiology and was the first female mentor for the medical school. She attained national and international prominence for her writing and lecturing on the history of anesthesiology. She was the first woman to deliver the American Society of Anesthesiologists' most prestigious lecture. But wait, there's more. In addition to her professional accomplishments, Betty was passionate about sailing, athletics, gardening, ornithology, ecology, economics, and philanthropy. She was the first woman commodore of the Mendota Yacht Club, and she served on the UW Athletic Board as well as the boards of the Arboretum and the Altrusa Club. At First Unitarian Society, she served as the treasurer of our foundation from 1983 until 1995. The positive impact that Betty made in the 78 years that she was on this earth is felt every day through the gifts of time and talent she gave to the people, the profession, and the issues she cared deeply about. Bamforth House, one of the 5 houses that cultivate community, well-being, and professional identity among the UW medical students, was named for Betty after she established a professorship in the Department of Anesthesiology. And now, nearly 23 years after she passed, the gifts Betty made in her trust have come to fruition. After Betty passed in 2001, her trust provided lifetime financial support for her sister, Jean. After Jean passed in 2023, Betty's trust assets were given to her most treasured charities. The FUS Foundation is one of those charities. Betty's gift has been placed into our Stonehaulers Fund, as she specifically asked that her gift be used for the maintenance of our buildings. At a time when we are faced with so many challenges, Betty's generous gift is helping us ease the way into the future. If you knew Betty, please come talk with me after the service. We would love to know more about her. If you would like more information about the foundation, please visit us after the service or visit our website page on the FUS website. You can find us under the Giving tab. I end with a prayer for Betty and for all those who work together to make this world a better place. We are so very, very thankful.
Thank you, Connie. Each week we gather, carrying in our hearts the joys and the losses of our days. We share them here, knowing they are held in love. We were asked to light a candle for Marcy's life situation and T's struggle for family. And we light a candle in honor of the Transgender Day of Remembrance, which occurs each year on November 20th. With this flame, we call to mind all those of every age, race, faith, gender, experience who have died by violence. We remember those who have died because they would not hide or didn't pass or did pass or stood too proud. Today we honor them all. The reluctant activist, the warrior for quiet truth, the one whom no one knew. We honor those who can be named and those who cannot. We mourn their senseless death, and we give thanks for their lives, their wisdom, and the brief glow of their holy flame. And if you'll join us in a moment of meditation with words from J.J. Flagg and Victoria Safford. For just a moment, breathe in life and breathe out again. Breathe more. This is your life and our life together, you and I and all the beloveds at risk now as never before. humans and trees, rivers and land, animals, children, and birds. Breathe in love for them, for us all. Breathe in protection. Breathe out resolve. And when you're ready, when you're able, whenever you can, breathe a prayer of hope. You know this and must not forget. Still and always we are held within and we comprise a larger love. We are held within and we comprise the mighty persistence of our ancestors, the urgent laughing beauty of our children. We are held and comprise a holy and ferocious power. Spirit, breath moves through us still, inspiring, insisting any act of love we undertake is a revolution. Remember who you are and whose, the beloveds who know you by your name, who expect great things of you, which is to say that you will keep on keeping on, never alone with all your dignity shining. Breathe deep and notice who is hurting, who is in danger, who needs your prayers of hope and more than that in order to survive. Hold out your brave and loving hand, stronger than you know, your brave and beating heart, and do not under any circumstances let go of beauty, truth, faith, hope, and love. We are held within and we comprise a holiness no tyrant can diminish or demean. We are always, always held in love. Blessed be, and amen.
Now I think we should rise in body and/or in spirit so we can sing our closing hymn. We are building a new way.
We
converse rarely, practice repair. Lean into comfort zones, strengths, and inklings of bliss. Pause to ask whether words are both skillful and absolutely necessary. Sing full-throated songs that create and recreate beloved community. Let go of stubborn self-righteousness and have mercy. Honor the ancestors who could not have imagined our lives or even our very being. Smile. Multiply joy, divide sorrow. With the tools at hand, practice repair. Perhaps I have tools you could borrow. Perhaps you could lend me from yours, and together we can practice repair. Blessed be, go in peace, and please be seated for the postlude.